Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Comics and Collectibles Conversation. Today, we have a huge treat for you as we do have the co founder of Elmon X, which is bringing digital art to us. We are excited to chat with them, kind of talk about the journey, about how they came to be, what they're bringing out for us, talk through the pieces that they dropped and just kind of get to know the founder themselves. So I have Callie Comics here with me as always for the Comics and Collectibles conversation. How are you, Callie?
Yeah, not too bad. Just again, thanks for letting me be part of it. It's always a pleasure.
All right, excellent, excellent. I appreciate you as well. So shout out to the huge collectors for Elmon X, such as Kryptoni, which I have your hat on, Kryptoni, giving you some recognition there for the great work that you do. Being Real, Wolverine, DeLorean Time Machine. There's so many great collectors in this space that cross over from VB to Elmon X. So without further ado, let me bring Jacob on. There we are.
Hey,
Hello, Jacob. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? How are you?
We are good. We are good. Once again, thank you for coming on to the show to chat with us. We do this typically every Thursday and Sunday where we just do comics and collectibles conversation. We just kind of keep it very general, kind of have some back and forth. We always like for them to get to know you a little bit better, talk about your project, talk about the future of digital collecting as a whole and digital, and just kind of go from there. Sound like a plan?
Yeah, thanks for having me and excited to speak. I'm glad we could finally organize this.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So Jacob, where are you located at?
I'm currently in London. How about you?
So I'm in the US and then Callie, you're in UK as well, correct?
Yeah, I'm in Bury St Edmunds, so it's just like I said previously. It's just good to have a fellow Brit on the stream for a change because yeah, it's normally obscene hours this side doing it with our friends over in the US. So um, and obviously we caught up last week in London, which I'm sure people probably see some of the posts that went round. But it's very passionate crowd we've got here in the UK and Europe when it comes to digital collecting.
Yeah, it's always fantastic to meet people in person, to speak to new people and hear their, stories, how they got into collecting. Uh, Physical meets are always great. Normally in America, it's a lot bigger and better, I must say, than the UK. But it's lovely to meet just a small group and have a chat and go from there.
Well, I am hoping that at some point I can get across the pond, as they say, and go to the UK, get to meet you guys in person. I mean, Jacob, your company is doing absolutely amazing work. I am absolutely hooked, as you can tell. Started with the Starry Night. I wish I would have got in a little bit earlier and got my Mona Lisa and that, but I am still working on getting that. So before we kind of jump into the meetup and how that went for you, can you start off by telling the new viewers who may not know about you and your company, a little bit more about your company, how you guys got started, and then we'll just kind of build off of that.
Yeah, it depends how far back you want me to go because the origin of the project actually started in 2007, and a lot of people don't know that. My co-founder, who's also my father, named Brandon Elman, he created one of the first metaverses. Well, it wasn't called a metaverse back in the day, but it was this retail platform, virtual retail platform, and the name was VTEL. So we took that name from 2007, and almost 10 years later, when after the blockchain came about, we tried to restore a lot of what was created. And if you haven't seen these videos from 2007, follow me or I can send them to you, and they're mind blowing. Essentially, what was created was call it a metaverse, but it was ahead of its time. Could walk around, you could shop, you could go to football stadiums. There was so much. There was a car gallery, and years later, we took the art gallery component when the blockchain was starting to pick up and NFTs, and we took one of our artists that we knew at the time, who was Patrick Hughes, and Patrick Hughes was around 83 years old. He had no idea what NFTs were, and we said to him, "How do you feel about this? This is what an NFT is," and he got his head around it very quickly, and he liked the concept that he had a piece of artwork which was maybe worth, £200,000, and only one person could own it physically. And we said, how about if we do 3,000 editions, break them up, do them for $200 each, and everyone can own a slice, everyone can experience it in 3D and AR. And that was one of our first launches, which we did with Vivi. And a lot of the collectors now know us for releasing Patrick Hughes. But we've come a long way since. We've done multiple releases of NFTs for brands, for artists, living and deceased. And we have a partnership with a company called Bridgman Images, who I'm sure we can get into, who gives us the license for a lot of these artworks. For example, the Scream by Edvard Munch, as you can see there, where we worked with Bridgman and the Art Institute of Chicago to produce physicals and digitals. So we've been building this high-end platform, I would call it, for high-end art, but also for digital collectibles, which many of you know, you're familiar with. And yeah, that's a small intro of I could go on for a while.
That's hard to wrap my mind around, because back then, well, I'm guessing then yourself and your father would have been one of the earliest in that space. Like the word meta, I know you said it wasn't maybe referred to as metaverse back then, but that's got to have been like ancient early in our space.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm not the best person to speak about that project because I was very young at the time, but I was seeing it, I was hearing it, and I was learning more about it as I got older. And, we found these servers, huge servers that are obsolete now, right? And we actually had one in the office, and we got an engineer to come in, and he digged out all the videos and the files from it that we could still, retrieve. But yeah, as you said, it was kind of like a Second Life platform. And I don't think, they were calling Second Life a metaverse at the time, but it was
Mm.
this virtual environment, again, hence the name VTEL, for virtual retail. And it was born out of the concept that uh, there was a lot of people that wanted to have a shop physically in London, right? Like you want to be in the converted or the popular areas in London, such as Covent Garden. And the idea came to Brandon that what if they could what if they could buy a digital space in these places, and you could sell the pixels, right? And yeah, that was how it was born. And maybe I can get him to come and explain it better because he does a better job. But yeah, it looks more modern than some of these virtual worlds today, which is unbelievable.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and you might be killing me here, because when VV launched their metaverse, being the VVverse, as you know, we did the California Comic Store, being we class it as the world's first ever metaverse comic book store. Well, I'm hoping some of the records you've got doesn't disprove that, because we might not definitely might not have been the first in that case.
I
But
have to check, and I'll try not to disprove you there.
yeah, it's an outstanding concept. Like for me as a consumer, I love the high street and the physical aspects of it, but being able to go into a metaverse and use it almost like a store format is something that I just think is just going to be inevitable in terms of what it will be in the future. But so do you have is that part, does that somehow link back into Elmonex, and in terms of like future plans, like the metaverse and how that will interact with what you guys do?
So we have, I guess, with the current constraints of what we can do with platforms like Unity or Unreal Engine, we can build, and we have built some experimental worlds, I would call them. I think that my personal view is that they're great if you can get the users to come and connect and have that Roblox type experience. Or, on Fortnite, where you have multiple people in one place and they're all playing. Um, but I see a bigger vision for where this is all going in terms of the AR and 3D and the worlds. And yeah, we're currently at the stage of, yeah, Apple have the Vision Pro, Meta have their glasses, and you can see where it's all going. But I think there's going to be a point where there might be contact lenses, or it might be a chip you put in yourself, and then everything's integrated as one, right? So I can see this, our world as we see it now, becoming digital and physical. And I
Mm.
think that could be 10 years. I don't know. But I think we're going towards that. I don't know. And I mean, I don't know if there's going to be a metaverse as a whole. Um, but that's kind of what I see. And I'd like that to be the case, but you never know how these things are going to unfold. There's one vision and then there's how it happened. But
Yeah.
I played with the Vision Pro, I've played with all these products, and they do feel a bit heavy, clunky, and I hope that people point to them as kind of the beginning of what was to come. And it's slightly concerning as well. Yeah, imagine when everything's kind of like a Ready Player One film kind of place. It's a terrifying vision, but it could be coming.
I really love that. Now, I do have a question for you, Jacob, because I feel like, so you guys are like trailblazers from early, right? But then now you brought in this digital piece, right? Where you started digital, you brought in the physical as well. And obviously, I'm huge on that. And I think there's so much opportunity there. When did you guys decide to make that shift? And then when did you guys really decide to focus on like these, museum grade art pieces that collectors like myself are just super excited to get their hands on? I mean, as I told you, Starry Night is my favorite. I can't wait until, there's a digital frame where I can actually, have a big picture of it to hang up in my living room. So what made you guys decide to kind of go the digital route, but then also add that digital to it? And where do you see it going?
Yeah, I think uh, I always came from physical, right? I think like we all came from physical. So from the off, actually, we always tried to do a physical component. It's not a new thing. Um, for example, when we did the Starry Night, we actually gave with the artist proof holders, there was a screen with infinite objects. We did a collab. So you could have it on that, AP. The AP was on this digital screen and it was locked with your NFT. So we did that. We did the first few drops, like the Mona Lisa had an artist proof as well, where you got a physical print. And we also did very early a physical T-shirt with Patrick Hughes, where you could actually scan the shoulder slash arm, and it was linked to your NFT. So we've
Hmm.
always tried to incorporate this physical element. We did these actually. I have one here with an artist called Scooney. So these are pretty cool. These are like figurines, kind of pop mart esque, and yeah, we've always loved physical. I love physicals. Everyone in the community seems to like them. So where we can and where it makes sense to pair them. But what I will say is that we've evolved with the physical aspect. So we now have started to do some crazy things. And we've been thinking about how we can be the first company in the world to do certain things. So, for example, we did a drop with The Last Supper, and we did a physical where, so backstory is The Last Supper was restored, right? So there was this really old, Last Supper, and they came along and restored it. If it's right or wrong, that's not for me to say, but they did. They restored it.
Hmm.
And we did a physical where you had the old version, the pre restored, and there was a thin sheet on top, and you can open it up. Oh, sorry, other way around. The thin sheet on top was the post restored. So you could see both versions, and no one in the world, to our knowledge, has done that. We did a drop, as you can see on your screen, the Vitruvian Man. And when we do these physicals, we use museum grade quality paper, right? And normally we use quite a thick paper depending on what the artwork is. We really look at it in detail. But for this Vitruvian man, this is a piece of the codex and a very thin sheet, right? So we couldn't find any paper, and I'm sure it does exist, a good paper to do this print on, but we couldn't find the perfect paper. So we made the paper, right? We went to one of the like a specialist in paper making, and we said, this is what we want to do, this is the details, and we've made paper. And it's very hard to
Mm.
do this, not just the paper, but to do this whole process for so few editions. But we did. um so we've gone from museum grade prints, doing collectibles and things like that, which can be firsts as well, but to now creating things from scratch. And the same with the David that you can see on your screen. We've done a physical with those. I don't have one in the room right now, but we've hand painted some of these physicals. Um, so everyone is slightly unique. And yeah, I mean, we even did, the one person got a life-size bust of David. So it's pretty big. It's gonna be a nightmare to ship, but we a life. So yeah, I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, I'm
No,
assuming then. So you have quite a big team then, I guess, with internal artists and people doing all the tech and everything. I assume.
Yeah, we got myself and Brandon. Brandon deals more with licensing, but he also deals with kind of the day-to-day operations. I deal with pretty much everything, hands-on, from can be the Discord to emails to licenses to the tech side to the new products. And then
Mhm.
we have a set of developers, and we have a set of 3D artists and designers, and then legal people and all sorts.
nice, nice. Now, one thing that I really appreciate about Elmon X is the amount of detail and quality that you guys put into your work, whether it be, the piece you just talked about, the Virtuin Man or the David, right? Because you're not just saying, hey, we're going to put this plastic one out. I recall, you speaking in spaces like we were looking for the right material. We couldn't do marble. We were looking for the right material for this. And the same with the paper, right? And that level of detail for a collector, it's just what makes you guys so unique. And the fact, also that you guys, when you do your drops, they're fairly scarce or extremely scarce, especially for the AP. So usually I just go for the APs because obviously I want the scarce piece, right? But even for the originals, there's only so many of those as well. So what made you guys decide right from the gate to make the AP so scarce? And how do you kind of figure out like your mint numbers to mint?
Yeah, the scarcity factor has always existed. It's not that we've created it. It's always been that collectors like limited editions and limited pieces. So we've gone off that model. Now, in traditional art, I guess, in terms of physicals, artist proofs have always been about, and they're so we've slightly repurposed them for the digital, because when we do an artist proof, David, it's not like Michelangelo did artist proofs, right? But we see it as a chance to do a limited product with a physical, and they appeal to a different sort of collector that would buy that with the physical than the original, right? So yeah, that answers the first bit. And then about the edition sizes, we have to look at metrics and we have to look at what we feel is correct. Um, it depends, because you don't want to make it too limited that no one can access it, and you don't want to make it too available that people are not happy with there being too many editions. So we often mix it up. Sometimes we do an open edition. Sometimes it's strictly limited edition. Sometimes we close the drop after 48 hours and burn the rest. It really varies, but we like to do things a bit differently, and the mechanics are different per drop.
Yeah. Have you seen? Obviously, again, I'm more of a I'm just entrenched in the Vivi side of things, where mint and the edition number plays such importance with certain collectors. Do you actively see that with some of your collector base as well, who might just strive for a certain edition number, or obviously pay potentially a lot more for that?
Yeah, I mean, we have a very unique audience in the sense that sometimes we do blind box drops, and when you do a blind box, there's that element of I want to keep buying, I want to keep buying, I want to get certain editions, and you know how it is. But
Mhm.
we also do a lot of our drops where we just do one edition. There's multiple pieces, and people are buying it because they genuinely love the art. And we get this kind of catch-22 chicken and egg problem where people buy the art, they love it, they never sell it, and then we get complaints that there's not enough secondary activity. So
Mm.
it's a tricky one, and I guess from our perspective, we want people buying it because they love it and they want to own it rather than it's a quick flip or something like that. But I do also understand that element of it. I'm not saying that shouldn't be the case, right? So yeah, it does vary, and I do see within Vivi there is a strong demand for these rare mint numbers and things.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. I'll go over that, Kelly. You had something?
No, no, no. That's it. Makes complete sense.
Fair enough, fair enough. So, just kind of talking through like long term, I know that you guys have dropped some really, really valuable pieces. What's a piece, if you can say, I don't know if you can, Jacob, what's a piece that you would like to have drop on Elmon X that you don't have on here just yet?
That's a good question. Um, I'll say this, that we would like to do more with estates, so like families and estates. So we'd like to go. I mean, I'll say that we do have an estate that's agreed to let us do some first releases of their collection. Um, and yeah, I mean, I can't wait for that. So the ones that we want, we're going to, and we're approaching, and we're saying this is what we want. And I guess a lot of the stuff we release is reflective of myself and Brandon, what we like. Um, and yeah, I mean, there's some really cool stuff coming. It's hard to say, but yeah.
Yeah. I think it's again. I know this is not all about from the creator or the artist standpoint. It's not all about the money side. But you take again Patrick Hughes. I want to say his Crate Expectations. One of the pieces on, I think it was one of the first to drop on Vivi. Granted, it might have been a bit of a different period back in 2022, but that was, I think, over 2,000 editions. The unit price was $200 per unit, sold out. And that's before then you've got all the secondary transactions that have happened after that. But if it wasn't for something like that, you know, I think it got so much exposure to people that probably didn't know Patrick's work, and it allows it to be celebrated in such a great way. So I think those dynamics are really, really powerful thing.
Yeah, that was one of the onboarding points, I guess, for Patrick. It was that this artwork can be sold for cheaper than it is. It can be made in 3D and it's going to look fantastic.
Mm,
And as you said, it opens him up to a new audience that never knew who Patrick Hughes was. And we did an event at the time in Decon, London, and Patrick came along and he was treated like a superstar.
yeah.
People were queuing for him to sign books, take pictures, and those guys a month before would have never known who he was.
Yeah. Oh, and again, using Vivi as an example, we've got stamps on there. So you've got the penny black, which is from again Stanley Gibbons are the ones that brought that out in the UK, and you've now got best part of 3,000 brand new stamp collectors all of a sudden just from that. So yeah, yeah, it's very, very cool.
Yeah, it's great.
So, Jacob, out of all of the pieces that you dropped so far, what has been your favorite and why?
Yeah, I mean, it depends if you go on favor of the experience of releasing it or the process in terms of how we got it out and the licensing and all of that, or if you're talking purely on looks. Um,
We'll
yeah,
take all
two
three
very different things. Two
because
very
I'm
different.
interested.
Someone's asked me this before, and I can't answer, because how can you compare a Da Vinci to a Van Gogh? And it's like an insult to say one or the other. And then we've got artists like Sully and Zoobs and all these alive artists. So
But
it's difficult to say. It's difficult to say.
now I think
Now,
that's a great answer. That's
yes,
the
yes,
best
right.
answer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Now, Jake.
it's not comparing apples and apples.
Exactly. Exactly. Just emotional attachment. But I do recall in another space, you kind of shared about the journey of, maybe it was the Mona Lisa drop, that was like just huge traction and so many things that you had to work through. Is that one that kind of stands out in your mind as kind of like that, working through the process of, not only coming out with such a huge drop, but then also the mechanics of it in the background and how to move forward, in the future to kind of limit some of those issues that you had?
Yeah, I mean, I can go through the whole drop, and it brings back good memories and bad memories.
Hmm.
But long story short, is we did this drop of the Mona Lisa, and we'd previously done a couple drops, and we did a VV drop, so people knew who we were, and they were waiting for the next thing. And we announced the Mona Lisa. Uh, a lot of the VV audience were writing to us saying, "Is this on Vivi? Is this on Vivi?" And it got to the point where Vivi were even saying to me, tell them it's not on Vivi. And I said, we've never said it's on Vivi. It's just an assumption. But there was a massive traction. There was massive traction coming in from a lot of articles that were going out. I think there was over 300 articles that went out on it, and that's because one big one went out, and then everyone piggybacked off that and said the Mona Lisa is coming to the blockchain. Um, and yeah, the website had over 300,000 people. And at the time, if you remember, I think it was 2021 or 2022, a lot of the platforms, aside from Vivi, the way you'd buy a drop is you'd go to a website, connect your wallet, pay with ETH, right? So we did this method of, you could buy with credit card or you could buy with ETH, right? So all the ETH people that bought, they were happy, it went through fine. And the people with card, we had to do this manual process. I won't bore you with it, where you transfer the NFT after they pay and you lock it in and it's reserved for them. But it kept going. It was buy, 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 buy. So on our system, we had thousands of orders. And I was up for like 48 hours just refunding people. And
Mm.
we were getting Discord bots and spam there. We were getting emails everywhere. People, I've said it a few times, but we were getting a lot of emails from people that were saying, I don't want the refund, I want the NFT.
Mm.
And there were some very aggressive emails there. Some really nasty things were said. And it was a wake up moment, I guess, for us. So it wasn't just we're selling the Mona Lisa, it's that this guy in, I don't know, a third world country is trying to buy it and he's trying to pay for his family to go to college or something. So yeah, it was a good and a bad experience. But it set us up for future drops. And as you said, we did the Starry Night as well following that. And yeah, we learned a lot.
Do you have that ability still now on more on recent drops where it can be paid by credit card as well as ETH?
Yeah, so we have similar to Vivi, like they have the gem system. We came
Mhm.
up with a coin system, so
Okay.
you can deposit, and then it makes the process a lot easier on the app or website.
Yeah, and I think for me, I think there's probably a lot of people that have come into VV similar to myself, where a physical collector, but don't really have much or have virtually no experience when it comes to blockchain and crypto. And I don't know, you might be aware, even back end of last year, where VV have transferred or transitioned in terms of their withdrawal process, where it would go through in effect stack and only. And even I, I was probably a little bit fearful at first, but I think it's just like anything. Once you do it, you understand the simplicity of it. it becomes that much easier. And I think there's still people that are probably a little bit reticent in our space and don't like adapting to change. But I think, Vivian, similar to yourself, you make the easy button by bringing in like credit card and that sort of side of it.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely understand, and as I've met with more people in the VV community and our community, and I've noticed this, not with everyone, but there is a huge disconnect between NFT projects, such as like Bored Apes and Pudgy Penguins and Doodles, and then VV collectors who know VV, right?
Yeah.
And I've seen it in America, I've seen it in Lisbon, I've seen it in England, where I can mention a digital artist. It can even be someone like Beeple, and the VV audience, they just look starstruck. They're like, who is that? So
Mm,
it's fascinating to me, the difference in collectors, but I also understand it. And I think from an adoption standpoint, with what VV are doing in terms of Marvel, Disney, all these brands, you need that Web2 approach. So
mm,
I think they're doing the right thing in terms of it needs to be simple. There needs to be that ease of use. And I think a lot of people in the crypto space are calling out for that actually, where they say, we want crypto to be there, but we don't want to know it's there. And I think
yeah.
that's what Vivi delivered. And I think that's what people actually love about it, where you don't know what's going on, but you don't care as long as you own it and it's yours, right?
Yeah, and I
Yeah, and
think it's a very fine. Obviously you know this much more better than I and most others, but it is that fine balance. Because again, I'm someone, and I won't say I'm an advocate of it, but I enjoy the walled garden, the fluffiness of VV. Because like you said, it's web. It can be the web too. You feel much more safe in there. But I think trying to find that fine balance between the two, where it can work for both your Web3 purists, your crypto guys, as well as any general collectors. And it does feel like it's getting there, especially on Vivi. Obviously, they're transitioning, but it does feel like it's moving in the right way.
Yeah, for sure. And definitely with the collect blockchain, I don't know too much in terms of the technology, but I do know the team and I do know what's going on. So I do think it is a good step.
well, that's excellent because that was actually going to be my next question in regards to your knowledge of the Collect chain, and have you talked to Dr. Collect and potentially bringing your pieces onto Collect chain?
Yeah, I know the team. In terms of bringing our pieces, like that's a further conversation. Just to see how that looks. They obviously have this stage one of bringing everything on Immutable X over to their chain. And I think people don't understand and they probably underestimate that is a really big job.
Mm.
Um, and once that's done, then I think they're going to look into the next stages and what will be done next. We'll see, right? I don't want to start talking for them, um, but they'll update you, I'm sure.
And speaking of partnerships, can you kind of walk us through the partnership that you have with Bridgman Images?
Yeah, so we have a great deal with Bridgman. For those who don't know Bridgman, they are arguably the number one image sourcing platform in the world, and they work with museums, galleries, photographers, brands, everyone, and you can see on their website a list of partners. Um, and I mean, they do so much. For example, Coca-Cola had a recent advert where they used the Scream, Edvard Munch's Scream, and a load of other art pieces. But people don't know that Bridgman were the reason they were able to do the advert. And I think that advert has like hundreds of millions of views. Um, so we have a partnership with them for NFTs, and we work with them. We work with their partners. We work with their artists and brands, and we bring their stuff to the blockchain. Simply put.
Excellent, excellent. Now I have a question for you because once again, I feel like you and your father's company is so unique, and not only what you're doing, what you're presenting as far as digital art, but also the fact that you have two generations of passionate people leading this company. How was it for you, and how is it for you working with your father on this project that you've seen in its infancy, and then to kind of help it grow to where it's at now, and then to look at the future of what it could be. How does that feel for you?
Just in terms of like where we're going or what we built or
Yeah, just emotionally, for you, to work with your father and to watch it from his infancy, and, and to know that, this is something that originally was an idea of your father, and you kind of took it up with him and grabbed the torch, and you guys are just on fire and running with it.
yeah, I mean, it's an interesting view from hearing what people think of us, right? Because when we look at what we're doing, and we're not so focused on what we've done, we're more focused on the next step, and we kind of see ourselves like a startup, and we have maybe 5 or 6 new products that we're going to launch. So not just drops, or we will continue that, but we see ourselves expanding into a lot of different areas, and we're super excited about that. But it's almost like we're building well, we are building products from scratch that we've worked on for 6 months, for 12 months, even beyond that. We got patents we filed, and we're working on some really cool things. So I see Elman X as one of the platforms within an ecosystem of we've got 5 or 6 things that we haven't released yet, right? So yeah, that's kind of where we're going in terms of what we've done to now. As I said, like I'm not focusing on it, but looking back, it is cool to see that these pieces are going to be here forever, as long as Ethereum's around and the blockchain. But it's pretty cool. I love looking at like the collectibles that we've released, and just saying, these are going to be around in 5, 10, 20, 50 years. Um, it's amazing that we've made something historic, and I think these are historic moments that we create. And maybe if they're not appreciated now, they will be, I believe, in the future.
If
Absolutely,
one
absolutely.
of the products I know you mentioned earlier about, you know, how AR and the VR aspects could become, could be mainstream in the future. But if you thought about the sort of the monitors that you could use now, like HLD, so I want to say the luminescent screens and things you can display the artwork on, is that something that you've contemplated just yet?
Yes. So we have done some physical screens like with infinite objects, for display, and I have seen at like Art Basel, for example, some amazing digital screens on that are being used. Um, in terms of other things, like I think AR glasses are going to get more interesting. So we have looked at AR glasses, and yeah, like things like the Vision Pro, we are actively looking at. Um, so yeah, I can't remember what your question was, but
Yeah.
we're looking at it,
Well,
and we've done some bits in that. Yeah.
yeah, I know it's probably it's a bit of an in between at the moment. Like, even for myself, I went and got like a photo screen. I went and picked one up from just your general store. I think it was like a Kodak one, and it doesn't do justice. Like you can upload and put your digital collectibles and comics in there. It looks fine, but then I've seen obviously the much higher end versions where you're talking probably 1,000 sterling plus to get something that's high definition. It has the 3D capabilities of it. So I appreciate that's probably still early tech, but didn't know if that was something that you'd contemplate before.
Yeah, I mean, in like 2021, we had like a giant screen, and it was pretty good. I guess the argument is just where do you put these things? Do you want to put them on the wall or not? And what do you want to display?
Yeah,
Um, so I think I'm thinking in the VV case right now, it'd be difficult to display your like Spider-Man, because how do you connect it to the app and stuff and all of that? So I do think it's pretty cool, and I think it will be adopted more. But I just think, yeah, it's quite an expensive luxury for people to have like $1,000 thing on their wall and stuff. But Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I want to say they had one at their booth in New York, and I think Vegas. I don't know if you see it, Doctor Fidget, when it. From I only see the video of it, and it looked really impressive. Whichever bit of kit they were using, but like you said, it's an expensive luxury to have. But you know, it was a great way to display nonetheless.
Yeah, I have seen those. They're like 3D holograms. Uh,
Yeah.
they're very cool. Yeah, I do like those a lot.
Now, Jacob, I do want to tell you. So obviously, the creation of Adam, this piece here, this is one of my favorites. And when I purchased it, my sole goal when I purchased this one is this is another one that I look forward to putting up in my home. But obviously, with getting the AP, I got the other ones as well. My wife absolutely fell in love with those three pieces. She did not expect them to be such high quality, but then also the level of detail. So she has ordered frames for those. So I wanted to let you know my wife knew nothing about Elmon X until they came in, and she absolutely fell in love. So I'm excited for her to see, my David when it comes in and things of that nature. So you guys are doing such a phenomenal job. So, talk to us about the meetup that you had, in the UK with the VB fam. By the way, we weren't there, so we didn't get hats, but I am going to get a hat from someone, just FYI. Yes, I need one so I can wear
Send
it
you-
when I do your streams.
I'll send you one. It's pretty
Fair
cool.
enough.
Pretty cool. We had these like maybe I got the tags. I don't know. Yeah, they had these like cool tags on them. A lot of people are asking what this logo is. I'm gonna be quiet for now.
Okay.
I've
Okay.
got.
All right.
I haven't.
You
I
want to
haven't.
drop?
Yeah,
I haven't had mine come yet. If I had, I'd been wearing the hat too. But I reckon mine might be next week.
yeah, I can check. I can check, but I'll send you a hat. It's something cool we're doing. I won't go into detail, but you'll know about it soon. It's gonna be good.
Okay, fair enough. So from, a founder of, such a great project going to this VV meetup, what was it like for you? I mean, I know you have been to other VV meetups as well in the past. So, you know, how is your interpretation of how things always go when you're with the VV fam? Because it's always a good time when I'm with the VV fam. So,
Yeah, I wasn't there the whole day. I was there for a good few hours, and it's just amazing to hear people with all kind of different stories, but around the same area. So it's all around digital collectibles, and it's just amazing to hear some of the stories. People had VV tattoos, which is just mind blowing in itself. Daniel was there, so he can verify.
Yeah.
But yeah, just hearing people's stories about how they got into collecting, why they're collecting, what they want to see, and hearing the feedback as well. I spoke to a few people there that were Almanacs collectors, and they were telling me things they'd like, things they maybe don't like, and that's the most valuable feedback that we can get, because these are the customers, and it's without them we have nothing, right? So I love hearing what people say, and the stories, and just people having a good time. It's not about me; it's about everyone meeting each other. But Daniel can give his side of this. He might say he was a horrible guy.
No, that was brilliant.
funny enough, I'll let Daniel answer. You must have been pretty amazing because Daniel made this happen. He was like, I have to be on for this one. So just FYI, Daniel was an awesome guy, Callie, but I will let him speak.
Yeah, no, I agree. I've been to a couple before, and it was a great meetup. It was very loud in that pub we was in the World's End. Like I think we were having a conversation. It was like it was a struggle to hear probably each other, but yeah, really, really good meetup. And yeah, like you said, I think it's good. Like even for me as a collector and a special mint collector, it's just good to hear and see what makes other people tick, and get their sort of story and whatnot. But I thought it was brilliant. And the product, and again going back to one of your earlier points, like creating your own paper, to be able to do the work you do, like the quality of it. 'Cause I remember I got at the London event back in last year. I think you yourself popped in, and I've still got the T-shirt that come from there. Like I'll wear clothes to death, and normally they get ruined quite quick. I've been wearing that to the gym and all over it. But yeah, it was a fun day.
Yeah, it's not easy to do some of these things, but if it was easy, I guess everyone would do it. And yeah, it's worth it just to have the reactions of people that get these products and they're so happy about it and they give great feedback. And otherwise, yeah, we wouldn't be doing it.
Yeah. Have you I was something I was gonna actually ask you on the day. So do you obviously you go to a lot of conventions and whatnot. Do you when you go to ones where they're predominantly more fixed on the physical world and collectibles, do you typically see much kickback with digital? Does it really get spoken about at some of those conventions?
Um, Put conventions aside, I mean, because there are conventions, but if you're talking also in terms of like licenses and brands, there are just protective measures from brands and licenses, and I think that is because this NFT. I mean, NFT. It became almost a dirty word, and I
Mm,
hate to say it, but it was such. Uh, in the news, there was such bad press about NFTs of this, and they're bad for the environment, and they're down 90%, and even when you use the word digital collectible with some of these brands and licenses, they still know it's NFTs, right? So,
yeah.
but going back to the point, a lot of them maybe they just don't understand it and they've heard something bad and that's enough for them. Or there's others that they just need to understand it better and you need to educate them and then they say yes. But because you're going into something which is new, there's always going to be, I guess, kickback or people saying it's wrong. Uh, it's like anything, like the internet when it came about, people were saying, oh, you're going to have a website selling books. Like, really? Right?
Mm,
So, yeah, it's part of the problem, but I would say that, we're not the first to onboard like an estate, but the
yeah.
fact that we've managed to go to a family of an estate and say, we're gonna do your first NFTs. I mean, it's been a big thing for us, which we've not announced yet, and I think, it's gonna elevate us doing that.
Yeah, yeah, and I find the same. Like, we've I mean, been in touch with. I've got to know him really well. He owns a comic book publisher in here in the UK. And he's got no experience on the digital front. And the conversation I had with him, we met at uh, Comic Con last year in April, and he was like, "Look, just tell me what to do. I want these things to be digital." From his standpoint, again, it's extra exposure. So we introduced him to David and Vivi, and I don't know where how that's going. But yeah, and even like you said, the word NFT. When we did our DGC website and we launched that, we had NFT plastered all over the website. And then the advice we got come back is that just don't use that word. It's like, but the reality is, yeah, it maybe is classed as a dirty word in some, but it's the truth. They are NFTs. But we adapted and went with the whole digital comics, digital collectibles. Uh,
Yeah, but then I was gonna say equally, we've had, some artists say to us, we want to put every single piece of art we've done over 30 years on the blockchain, right? So
well, yeah,
there is the opposite where, you get these super enthusiasts which are willing to adopt. And I think I go back to Patrick again. Patrick was 83 and we were convincing him or telling him about NFTs and he got it, right? So he understood that it's going to live forever on the blockchain. It's going to be a way to sell his art in kind of fractions, I guess. And yeah, so it really depends who you go to.
yeah. And by the way, that wasn't me trying to plug DGC just before. That it wasn't a shameless plug there in any way. What is pretty cool though is one of the collectors from London, a guy called Moores, who I met for the first time. That piece on screen he actually owns and graded, which was really, really, really cool.
Yes, and I actually put it up because I'm a huge DGC fan, Jacob, very similar to your project. So I have quite a bit of my collection graded, and at some point I would like to have some of my art from yours graded as well and slab. I just think that I tend to post a lot, especially my collection and the things that I'm really proud of. And this just gives a very beautiful presentation of the art itself, whether it be collectible, whether it be comics. So shout out to Daniel and the DGC team for doing such a great job. But I look forward to seeing your pieces on there as well. But Jacob, I know that you have limited time, but I do want to just kind of wrap up and see if there's anything that we didn't ask you that you would like to talk about, or any alpha that you would like to drop on us.
Got me thinking now. Yeah, I mean, just to stay tuned, we do have like some really cool stuff coming on Elman X, and then we do have these new platforms that we're going to be releasing. So I'd say stay tuned to that, and I think the VV audience will get to know one of them very soon as well.
Excellent, excellent. So, if there was one piece of advice or anything that you would like to leave the collectors in this space that are new to this space, what would it be, Jacob?
People collecting, I would say just to buy what you enjoy if you're going to buy something, but also to educate yourself about what you're actually buying into when you buy digital assets. I think it is important to understand the landscape and the nature rather than just buy something because someone said it looks cool, or go with your own opinion, but understand what you're buying, and appreciate that everyone's going to have a different opinion of it. But I think with everything, you should do your own research. And if you think it's for you, great. If it's not for you, which a lot of people will say it's just not for them, fair enough. But do your research and go from there.
Excellent, excellent.
Yeah.
And would you mind sharing your details as far as how they could reach you on
To reach,
socials?
you can ping me on the Discord, but don't spam me because it's going to drive me nuts.
Mhm.
Or I'm on X. I'm on X. Or if it's urgent, I'm sure you can get to me. But yeah,
Excellent. And Daniel, any last words from you or any last questions that you have for Jacob?
Oh yeah, and like I said, there's going to be collectors in the space, especially in the video community like me, who stay in that confine. But I would certainly say, I think Kid Arcade was someone that I think firstly start posting about some of the Elmox pieces. This goes back probably a few years now, and I must admit I was instantly one intrigued but two jealous because I knew if I veer outside of what I'm comfortable with, that's a slippery slope with putting more money into some other project and everything else that goes with it. But I signed up to Elman X. It was like it took me under a minute. Looking at the website you guys have got, I'm assuming it's been there for a while. It's just incredible. So I would certainly recommend, highly recommend if anyone enjoys the art that they see, then jump on them and log in. It's highly recommend it.
I was gonna say we actually put this website live like a week or two ago, so it's been
Uh,
refreshed. Um,
it's
yeah, it's good. It's good now, but we're gonna make it better. Like we're gonna add like a white mode. We got blogs that we're gonna add and a few bits and pieces, so it's still improving. But yeah,
well,
it's fairly new. It's fairly new.
it's it's fairly great. Do you have a? I'm assuming you have an app as well for people to use as well.
Yeah, we have an app, so when we do drops, people buy on the app or they can buy on the website. But the app's good for 3D viewing and
Mm,
augmented reality. So we do have
okay.
like a viewer where you can do some cool things. Like, I think there's a couple people recently posted some videos like showcasing the AR. You can blow it up, make it small, very similar to what VB have.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Perfect.
speaking of that, I will just share really quick, just some of the beautiful art that you have. This is from my personal collection. So,
This is from your collection.
Yeah,
yes,
I saw your video actually. Like you did the unboxing, right?
yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
yes.
I watched it. It was awesome. It was awesome. It was cool to see like because with these artist proof editions, you don't always get to see people with them because a lot of the buyers they either stash them away and they don't want to show everyone, or you get the occasional one that pops up for sale, right? So it's great that other people can see this.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
I'll show you something.
Well,
I'll show you something cool. But
yeah, please, please.
this is Patrick Hughes' first avatar that he's created, right?
Wow.
Really?
I don't know if you can see on the video, but it does move like his reverse spective pieces. But
Yeah,
yeah, you probably can't see unless you close one eye and like move across the screen. Um, but yeah, we did this, or Patrick did this a while ago. It was pretty cool. I don't know if it's on the internet or not, but yeah,
I just find Patrick's work. So look, for me, I love collecting, the artwork, which is more like movies and things that are probably quite nostalgic. But Patrick's artwork was just it's just incredible. I've seen a few pieces in real life as well, which I was fortunate to see. But yeah. So what's with the avatar? Is that going to be digitalized as well at some point?
maybe, maybe. uh, well, we're still figuring out what to do with the avatars because he did make like 5 or 6 different avatars, and it's just what can we do more with them?
Mm,
Can we make them move? Can we make them a bit different to just giving people like a static model? So we're thinking about it. We're thinking about it.
yeah.
But just as you were saying with Patrick's work, it's in incredible places around the world that people probably don't realize. I think there's one in the British Library. They're everywhere. They're
Mm,
I think as as I myself, I love art, right? And when I built my VV first, the first thing that I was like, I need to hang up in there was a Patrick art piece, right? Because it was so unique and it's so beautiful. It was like, I need to have it in there. So, if you, Jacob, I don't know if you've had a chance to view, Master Ronnie built out an Iron Man mansion for me. But I am looking forward to at some point putting some of my Ilmon X art in there as well. So super excited to have like that digital frontier of my home and then my physical home and kind of merging those together. So I'm really excited for what you guys are building and look forward to the future. 2 generations of trailblazers and innovators. The future looks extremely bright for Elmon X. We thank you for coming on. For anyone that is here with us, please make sure that you like and follow everyone on the screen. If you have questions in regards to Elmon X, please feel free to reach out to us. We'll happily answer your questions or guide you to the right person who can. And I will wrap up by saying, always collect what you love and always connect with those in the community because that's what makes collecting great. So, with that being said, we thank you for tuning in. Thank you again, Jacob, for taking time out of your day to educate us and to talk to us about your project. And we look forward to meeting with you again and at a physical meetup.
Likewise. Thank you, both of you, for speaking and for doing this. And yeah, any questions that you may have missed or that people want to ask, you can get in touch with me, and I'll answer those as best as I can without giving stuff away.
All right. Thank you, sir. And we'll go ahead and end the stream now. I hope that you guys have a wonderful day. We'll see you in the next stream.
Thank you. See
yeah.
you.
See you guys.